The rain fell hard that night, blurring the neon lights of the city into streaks of color that painted the empty streets. Armin tightened his worn-out jacket around his shoulders, his shoes splashing through puddles as he hurried home after a long shift. His daughter Aisha would be asleep by now, clutching her old stuffed bunny, waiting for the sound of the door that meant her dad was finally home. But fate had other plans. As he passed the parking lot behind the hotel where he worked as a night shift manager, he saw a familiar car door open and a woman stumbled out, heels in hand, mascara running, clearly drunk and confused. It took him only a second to realize who she was, his boss, Zaramira, the hotel's powerful, intimidating, and famously cold CEO. And in that 1 second, Armin's quiet life was about to change forever. Before we go deeper into this emotional story, take a moment if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing good even when no one's watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us bring you more stories that touch hearts and remind us of our shared humanity. Armin hesitated, his instincts torn between caution and compassion. He knew helping her could backfire. People like Zaramea didn't like being seen vulnerable, especially by their subordinates. But the way she sat slumped by the car, holding her head as rain drenched her hair, told him she needed help desperately. Without thinking further, he rushed over, crouched beside her, and spoke softly. She blinked up, recognizing him faintly, her speech slurred but filled with frustration and pain. "I'm fine," she muttered, trying to stand, only to nearly fall. Armin caught her just in time. The smell of expensive perfume mixed with rain and alcohol hung in the air. A group of men nearby had already started whispering, pulling out their phones to record. Armin's heart raced. He couldn't let her end up on the internet, humiliated. Quickly, he guided her toward his car, a dented old Corolla, and opened the passenger door. She resisted at first, but exhaustion overtook her defiance. He drove through the rain, her head resting against the window, eyes closed, breathing shallow. She murmured something about being tired of pretending, of fighting alone. But before he could ask what she meant, she fell asleep. Armin thought about taking her to her mansion, but when he saw how pale and unwell she looked, he chose differently. He parked near a small 24-hour clinic, asked the nurse for help, and sat quietly in the waiting area until they assured him she was okay. He left his number for the doctor, then went home at dawn, soaked, drained, and praying this wouldn't cost him his job. The next morning, he woke up late to Aisha's soft giggles as she brushed his hair with her little pink comb. Her smile was his reason for everything. He promised her pancakes after school and left for work, trying to act normal. The moment he stepped into the hotel lobby, though the air was different, quiet, tense, the staff whispered and glanced his way. He braced himself for the worst. Then the elevator doors opened. Zara stepped out, perfectly composed, every trace of last night's chaos gone. Her assistant followed, carrying her laptop and coffee. Her gaze locked on Armin, unreadable, sharp. His stomach twisted. He lowered his head, expecting her wrath. But instead of anger, she simply said, "Armin, my office." Now inside, she closed the blinds and stood by the window. He noticed her hands trembling slightly as she spoke. "About last night," she began, her voice calm, but weighted. "You didn't have to help me. But you did." He said nothing, unsure if speaking would help or hurt. She turned, her eyes softer than he had ever seen. "Thank you for not leaving me there, and for protecting my dignity." It stunned him. This wasn't the Zaramiraza the world knew. The woman whose name alone made employees nervous. Before he could reply, she added, "Most people would have taken advantage. You didn't. That says something." Then she dismissed him gently, asking him to take the rest of the day off. But it didn't end there. Over the next few days, something changed. Zara began to notice Armin differently. She'd pass by the reception area and ask how his daughter was doing. Once she overheard him on the phone, promising Aisha he'd get her a new school bag soon. And later that week, one appeared anonymously on his desk with a small card that read, "For Aisha, keep being brave." He knew who it was from, but said nothing. Weeks turned into months and their paths crossed more often. Sometimes in late meetings, sometimes when Zara came downstairs just to observe the night staff. She'd find him arranging schedules, handling complaints calmly, always polite, always professional. Slowly, she began to talk, not like a boss, but like someone who had forgotten how to be human and was trying again. One night, as he helped her review a major project, a question slipped out of her lips. "Do you ever get tired of being strong all the time?" Armin smiled faintly, looking down at the documents. "Every day," he said. "But Aisha doesn't know that. So, I keep going." That simple answer silenced her. She realized how rare it was to find someone who gave without expecting anything back. Someone who carried pain quietly without bitterness. A few days later, she invited him to her office again. This time, there was no tension. Just two people sitting across a desk, the city lights glowing behind them. She told him about her past, the loneliness of success, the pressure, and how the night he helped her was the first time in years someone treated her like a person, not a CEO. "You reminded me," she said softly. "That kindness still exists in this world." Armin listened quietly, his heart heavy with understanding. He didn't say much. He never did. But the look in his eyes said enough. She offered him a promotion, insisting it was overdue. And though he hesitated, she told him it wasn't charity. It was recognition. But it wasn't the promotion that changed his life. It was the friendship that followed. Zara began visiting Aisha's school events quietly, sometimes showing up with gifts, sometimes just watching from afar. One evening when Aisha won a small art contest, Zara surprised her by showing up at their tiny apartment with a bouquet and ice cream. That night, laughter filled the small space that usually echoed with silence. Armin watched them, his daughter's joy, Zara's unguarded smile, and for the first time in years, he felt something stir inside him. Peace. Yet, happiness often brings its own shadows. Rumors started spreading at work. Some accused him of manipulating Zara. Others whispered that he had seduced her. Armin tried to ignore it, but it began to affect his confidence. He even considered resigning to protect her reputation. When Zara found out, she called him to her office and said in a steady, unwavering voice, "Let them talk. They don't know what it means to stand by someone who once stood by you." She paused, then added, "You saved me once, Armin. I won't let you walk away this time." Something about her tone broke him. For the first time, tears filled his eyes, not of sadness, but of relief. He realized that kindness had come full circle. Months later, Zara launched a new charity program under the hotel's name, a scholarship fund for children of single parents. The first recipient was Aisha. Armin could barely speak when she told him. Zara simply smiled and said, "She deserves a future. You both do." The story of that night, the night he saved her from herself, remained their unspoken bond. She never pretended to forget and he never expected her to remember. Yet she did every single day through her actions, her support, her presence. Over time, their lives intertwined naturally. It wasn't a grand romance. It was quieter, built on gratitude, respect, and healing. Zara found solace in Armin's simplicity, and he found strength in her belief in him. They were two broken souls who had crossed paths in the rain and taught each other how to stand again. 1 year later, on a bright spring morning, Armin stood outside Aisha's new school, a better one, thanks to the scholarship. As he watched her run inside with her backpack bouncing, he felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Zara holding 2 cups of coffee. She smiled and said, "You did it." He laughed softly. "We did it." The wind carried away their words, leaving behind something unspoken but deeply understood. Some people enter your life by accident, but stay by choice. Zara didn't forget that night because it changed her as much as it changed him. It reminded her that no matter how lost someone becomes, one act of kindness can bring them back. And for Armin, it proved that goodness, even when unseen, always finds its way home. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change lives in the most unexpected ways, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue telling stories that heal, inspire, and remind us of the beauty of humanity. And before you go, comment below. Do you believe one act of kindness can truly change someone's destiny? Because for Armin and Zara, it did. And maybe one day it could for you, too.